Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Progressive World, where we talk about everything and anything related to the progressive world. So we have a relatively packed episode for today. We're going to start off with Jimmy Dore's latest video about TYT. He just posted it last night. Then we're going to talk a little about critical race theory. Ben Burgis watched this libertarian argument that we're going to talk about. Cornel West left Harvard University. That's right, Sam. Is that the university? Is that okay? You're gonna have to tell me
That's
a bit
correct.
more about that. I haven't followed it. But yeah, Sam, should we start off with Jimmy Dore and TYT?
Yeah, let's start with the slightly more dramatic
Yeah,
aspect
the
of the news. Yeah,
the
yeah.
juicier stuff. To be honest, I thought it was like over when last week Cenk made that ridiculous video where he like thought he responded to Glenn Greenwald, and then Glenn Greenwald kind of responded back on the Vanguard. I thought Jimmy Dore was just gonna leave it there because Cenk wasn't saying anything, but Jimmy Dore was back with some, I would call some bonus points, just a couple of more jabs, a few right hands,
DVD
Buzzsaw,
extras.
yeah, Buzzsaw Iron Maté was kept on a leash in case anything was needed, just release, just release him. But yeah, as everybody probably knows, Cenk released that video
Iron
last week.
Man. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I just no. I'll mention it later. But I thought he was quite good at impersonating. Really, I was very surprised. Very good
Bro,
at
he was
impersonations
so
and
good.
funny.
I don't know why Jimmy does it. I mean, I do the exact same thing, but I don't know why Jimmy does it.
I don't know. Really, like yeah, genuinely, I thought so. I mean,
Yeah,
I
he impersonated
besides the
Cenk
Mets, besides the
twice.
yeah, it really good and well. I thought well done. Like very, it's
Yeah.
much. I remember that idiot Steven Crowder used to impersonate Cenk, and like he's the most. I hate him so. Anyway, but yeah, yeah, and this he's much better. Aaron Matt, well done with the. I mean, forget about all the real Matt content and all that. His impersonation was very good.
Yeah, especially the
Sorry,
first
just
one. He did it twice. Like the first one was like, what the hell? Where did that come from? That was
yeah,
like
yeah,
hilarious.
took
But
me off guard.
but okay, so last week Cenk put up that response video, and then Glenn went on the Vanguard, and we actually covered that. So I don't want to repeat myself. So you can all go watch last week's episode. I'll post it down below with the exact timestamp. I'll put timestamps for everything we're covering today in the description box, and you can go check it out. But pretty much the main takeaways were that Cenk didn't even mention Aaron Maté and the whole thing as if that hadn't happened. Another thing was his ridiculous comment that, oh, if Glenn has, even if you accept that Glenn has lied, which he did, and he's like, oh, you can't believe anything he's ever said before, which I mean, with that standard, Cenk canceled himself 50 years ago. And some other points I think that we made in that video, so gonna leave them out. So you can go check those out. But the main, oh, and also his interpretation of blackmail, which we said, okay, if it's not blackmail, at least for me, then it's a threat. So whichever one makes you happier, Cenk. But for this one, the main thing that Jimmy Dore pointed out, and then some really hilarious stuff, which we'll get into, was that Cenk and Anna's stories were inconsistent, and I actually forgot about that because in the first response video that they made, and I went and watched it again, Anna says that no, Jimmy Dore didn't say nice new skirt. He commented about my legs. So she completely dismissed that story. But when Cenk made the response video last week, he went with the whole new skirt, and that's like a fact, and that's what happened. Had you picked up on, Sam? I don't think we had picked up on the fact. I thought that Anna had also said new skirt. I'd completely forgotten.
I remember I recalled she's saying that, it wasn't exactly like that, but I didn't recall. I only watched that video once. So yeah, I didn't recall specifically what was her account of the events.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a contradiction.
Yeah, and like I said, this video was more like a bonus one. I mean, everything was already said and done. It's like 10-0 to Jimmy Dore right now. So I don't know if you have any main takeaways from this video, Sam. I mean, like I said,
there's two things. There's this video that Jimmy Dore shows Cenk showed, and then Jimmy Dore shows Cenk showing.
One time I was in a news studio, and I won't say who did this, but someone wore such a short. No, anyway.
It's like we're living in that mirror into mirror,
Yeah.
mirror. Anyways, that Jimmy tells the story that he saw somebody. He doesn't mention names, private parts or whatever, in a newsroom, and then he says, "I've been to a million newsrooms." And I like to see, if it exists, I would have liked to see the beforehand of that video. Maybe he does imply, it's Anna. Maybe he doesn't. That's the thing. Like, I would have liked that. And then there is that video of Cenk, which was, I mean, like where it's cut, it's extremely shocking. In which there is an intern TYT contacted by Playboy, I believe, and stuff. And then he makes a comment, "What career?" referring to the girl who just is interning, and everybody, including all the people in the studio, sort of are shocked. And then he says, "Let me explain," and then the video is paused. So I would have liked to hear his explanation.
Yeah.
Maybe he had one. I don't know.
Exactly. So being
But
very
besides
fair
that,
there.
it was just, it was really fun to watch
Yeah.
these two videos. And yeah, there is an aspect I thought you might want to bring out about the handbook or.
Oh yeah, I had a few points. I have a few points that we're gonna get into. I thought you had just like your main kind
Oh,
of
sorry,
like a
I thought you were
takeaway.
trying to wrap it up.
No. I
Sorry,
just thought you had some main takeaways. But
No,
just so
go
we
ahead.
elaborate properly the things that you said. So one of them is that, Jimmy says there's no way anybody could have known that I was, mentioning Anna back in December in that video where I kind of make like an inside joke with my wife, nobody. And you're saying that you've seen it or you haven't seen it, that perhaps they were kind of talking about TYT before that. So it's kind of obvious who he was, who he was kind of mentioning.
I think, I don't know. I haven't, I'm not going to say it, but look, I recall something along the lines that Cenk showed in that same video early on, that beforehand they're saying something about, NATO funded, warmongering, saying like we are honored or something. They did that a lot. But then again, according to Aaron Maté and Jimmy Dore, the guy who does those, sends them that video, has been caught multiple times editing videos dishonestly. So I don't know. That's why I didn't specify, but I would like to see. Maybe they have a point, but like maybe they do mention, people who do interviews with NATO warmongers. If they do mention that, of course they're referring to everybody knows who. But just to be sure. No,
which is,
I just meant it as in that.
And even these points that you bring up,
I mean,
that,
by the way,
half defense of Cenk. Yeah, I mean, they're just like,
unless,
whatever. We're just being very
there's
fair.
no legal action taken.
Yeah, being very fair.
I'm just curious. This is my lizard
video.
brains.
And that part in the second video that you mentioned, he like totally embarrasses the poor girl. But yeah, maybe after that he goes on. But he realized that he said something extremely embarrassing. Everybody's like shocked in the room. And then, maybe he goes on to say, no, I meant like if you become a billionaire, then you don't need a career or something. Yeah, maybe he.
No, he made to be. Look, again, I think Jimmy Dore makes that point. In that environment that they created on screen and probably off screen, it was a bit more loose, I would imagine. Just like we are more loose off. Everybody's more like whenever somebody pulls out a camera to take a picture, everybody just suddenly. So it's just human nature. So I'm not surprised. Like in that sort of. And again, Young Turk was this sort of edgy thing. So, I thought this is all part of the show as well, in a way. Like, Cenk saying outrageous stuff.
But that joke was actually worse than some of the other stuff you kind of hear, because this girl is obviously new, right? And okay, they're in the other video, like, no, whose boss is this? I'm not your boss. Okay, for sure, Cenk is the boss of TYT. So from the boss of TYT to kind of making that joke, like, oh, what career? I mean, it's kind of worse than some of the other jokes. I mean, even in that environment where they seem to talk about.
Is it worse than showing other people's private parts?
No, I just
and then.
Yeah,
I'm just saying just fit in with the same.
Yeah, maybe I would say it's worse. Maybe I would say it's worse. Maybe I would say it's worse.
I don't know. And I would say it, by the way, it could have been even planned, because there are all these morning shows and talk shows that they pretend things happen. That, oh, this new bad guy bought it. It's like later,
Yeah.
it's all set up,
Yeah.
it's not scripted per se. So it could have been even planned. I don't know.
Yeah, although I doubt that
it's
comment
it's
about
so,
the girl was
it's
planned.
like yellow,
Yeah.
it's like,
I mean,
what you
everything that we
expect.
talk
Yeah,
about
exactly.
here.
I think the main point is that Young Turks is taking the position of this, we are this journalistic beacon of like perfection and all that. And frankly, you were never that. And why are you pretending to be? And as Aaron and Jimmy says, they could have said, we got angry and said some words that were not backed up. Anyway.
That's the thing. All of these things are small things. It's just because of the way that they acted and stuff, you bring all of these little examples up. And there's so much on them.
They should definitely apologize for the smearing thing. But the rest is just they just bring it on themselves, I feel.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know where Jimmy Dore found this. So he's talking about the whole skirt thing and everything. I don't know who sent him this, but then he pulls up the California State University's employee handbook. And then it's about how you should dress, and they literally use the words that like you can't dress inappropriately, and what is inappropriate as an example, they give micro or mini skirts. And then Jimmy is like, Kyle, do you want to go beat up the university too or something? I mean,
because they use inappropriate. They use the exact same words as he does.
I know.
I would say, I like to say that Jimmy Dore's talents is wasted, I think, in YouTube, and he should have become a lawyer at like the highest levels of, like, he would have been Jesus Christ, like, there's this evidence, there's this camera footage from a street camera that shows Cenk doing exactly like what he said he would have never do. It's crazy, the evidence.
That's the funny part. They've done literally everything that they say they shouldn't do. But I don't know where someone who works at HR must have told them, like, by the way, all these universities have handbooks or something where they tell people how to dress. Because I don't know where he would have gotten that idea of checking out the employee handbook.
The handbook was from 2010, though, so I don't know if universities have changed their
they probably have
guidelines. Like, I don't know. I mean, this is something I am very ignorant maybe about, but I don't know if you, in all contexts, if you tell a person, whether man or woman, you are dressed inappropriately, is that insulting?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I've been thinking about that because it's like very tricky, right? I mean, I guess to a woman, I'd be more careful because I think there are different layers that come to it and different ways that you can get dressed. I would just be careful. I'm not saying it's always bad to say that.
I would always
but
add
to you,
I think.
Yeah, but if you come up and dress in weird, I'd be like, yo, Sam, this is inappropriate for a little shitty YouTube video.
No. Let's say colleague, not a close friend, but not like.
But we're colleagues here,
But like you go to a funeral with somebody and somebody wearing a man, let's say, wearing a hot pants or something, and I would probably always say, in my opinion or something. I would add that in the beginning just to give myself a bit of a legal cushion.
But
I don't know.
sure.
But
I mean, but for sure, when you're telling a woman that there are a lot of sensitivities, especially when you take into consideration that like women are often told to dress the other way too, like to wear heels, especially like 40 years ago or like 30 years ago, to wear heels at work, not to wear pants. So they're kind of at the same time. Yeah. So at the same time, they're being told that way, and then you come and say it's not inappropriate. That's why there's more to it. But it's a sensitive thing. And
I just wonder if there is any, like, I don't know what is Buer's point of view, but at workplace, I don't know. I'm very relaxed about workplace, but if it comes to a funeral or let's say, I don't know, a state visit of a president, I guess there are, in those scenarios maybe.
And most people, they kind of, I mean, you kind of follow the dress. I mean, you kind of know that, okay, everybody here goes with a dress shirt. I'm not going to walk up with a bow tie and a suit because that's strange, but I'm also not going to go with like flip-flops or something. Some people dress differently and they can make it happen. I mean, they can make it work for them. But Yeah. Okay. I mean, but that whole part was just absolutely hilarious. I mean, the video is worth watching just for the employee
Yeah, it
handbook
was
that he pulls up.
more of a funny one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just to pile up kind of more damage there, he pulls another few other videos. So there's a video of Anna literally commenting on Fox News host. She's like, hey, dress however you want. Were you showing your legs there? Or like she says something like that. So she's kind of commenting about their legs. So he kind of making, again, he's making the same point that this is what they do at TYT. And now they're coming to tell me. And then, yeah, the other one was the video of the young intern, which you brought up. So kind of that sums up pretty much all there was. Like I said, this was a bonus point episode by Jimmy Dore. It wasn't like stacked like the other one. It didn't have the hilarious Kyle Kalinske tweet though about masturbation. I wish he would have somehow incorporated that. I'm pretty pissed he didn't. That was a funny one. But Sam, speaking of Kyle, you sent me a video by who was it?
Jackson Hinkle, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so he kind of broke the news.
I watch him
Twitter.
a lot, but I never catch his name fully. I don't know why. But,
I see. No, I've never really watched him. But yeah, he broke the news that what's his name? Kyle has left TYT or like the TYT network.
Yeah, that's where I heard it anyway. That Cenk announced it apparently on their members only part show. They announced it that I think it's wrong to say Kyle quit TYT or anything. I think it was a partner. I don't know. I really don't know how TYT network works, but from what I remember back in the days, there were a lot of people who were like Kyle, independent reporters, and they were part of the network, but they also had like their own channel. I don't know if I have no idea how does the partner. I think it's more to do with like we share your stuff, you share my stuff. It's not a real like any content supervision by anybody or anything like that. But yeah, apparently the collaboration between Kyle and TYT has come to an end. So
yeah,
I mean, I would imagine the recent dramas have had a role. So
exactly. And I mean, Cenk somehow managed to, in like 10-15 seconds, to say something mean about Kyle. He just says that, Kyle left because of policy differences and I wish him the worst. It was a disaster. What did he say? It's like it started off with a disaster.
He said, we wish him the best. No.
Does he actually say we wish him the best?
Yes, he does say we wish him the best of luck, I think. He does come across as not bitter, but somewhat angry, maybe, or frustrated. And then I think he says, I think he differed with us on policy things. He's trying to placate some people. I think it's going to end in disaster because it has started in a disaster, but good luck with that or something. Like this second, he adds this, like until basically this whole explanation. It's very good. It's very normal. He says, we wish him the best of luck. There's policy differences. But then, at the end, he kind of, his bitterness. Fair, but then again, he's a bit honest. You can say he's being honest about it. So,
I mean, I didn't catch the best wish. I guess the other part of it is just what
best luck, best wish
stuck in my head.
I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, because it was a bit unnecessary, but whatever. Yeah, it wasn't the worst. And I mean, he's beefing with them. And regardless of how he thinks about it, I guess Kyle ended his relationship with them there. But that's that. Yeah, and he hasn't.
Yeah. Placate. I think he meant to. What did he mean? Like by placating, he meant he wanted to show that he's even leftier than.
Yeah, that he's in the Jimmy Dore camp. I guess maybe. I guess that's what he's.
I guess Kyle, poor guy, is trying to say I'm in nobody's camp. Just leave me alone. But yeah, I mean, not that I agree with his. Comment about drama and then what he did, but I don't think he's really. I think he made a couple of mistakes, but I don't think he's taking any specific sides or anything. It's just he has a couple of friends he wanted to keep, but then that didn't work out. So that's very sad.
Okay, that's that. Let's move on to our next story. So Sam, I sent you a link about this, and you didn't have as much fun with it as I did, but I don't listen to that many libertarian kind of arguments. So Ben Burgis had his friend, and I'm not sure if he's also professor academic, Rob Larson on, and they watched a debate about libertarianism between Yaron Brook, a huge libertarian. He's like the chair of the Ayn Rand Foundation or whatever right now. And he had a debate with Sam Cedar about libertarianism. And like, for me, libertarianism is such a joke. I always tell myself, no, these guys aren't that big of a caricature as I make them out to be. You know, they must be a bit more serious. But then when I listen to this guy who's like kind of like a consistent libertarian, he almost takes it all the way with like everything. The only thing he wants the government to do is to, besides protect his property, which is very problematic as a libertarian, really. But the second one is so like nobody beats them up. I mean, I was telling you, I got the impression that he was really concerned about
armies,
that. Yeah, violence. He just says
settlement disputes, and surprisingly for libertarian, intellectual property, IP.
But exactly, that's not surprising though. That's the thing. Whenever they're full out libertarian, right? Then it's like nothing, which is like just like to me the most like utopian, ridiculous thing. But then if you're not full libertarian, then you're just like a, you know, pro-business, neoliberal business, like conservative, free market. You're kind of that. So I mean, it's not even something special. I mean, at least then I know, now I'm comfortable like making fun of them more, because one, some are like just absolutely like, you know, they live in an alternative reality or world, and the other ones are just neoliberals and stuff, which are like, okay, yeah, I'm familiar with them. But yeah, that was kind of like one of my main takeaways. It kind of reassured me that I could make fun of libertarians. But did you have any?
I mean, to be fair, read their books.
Yeah, well. True. I was that's the next thing, I guess, right? I could maybe read one of their books.
Yeah, but I mean,
but their books, that's my point. If their books is about neoliberal stuff, then that kind of shit I'm exposed to all the time. So I mean, that doesn't even count.
They're different from neoliberals. So
the ones who are fully libertarian, then I agree.
Sorry?
The ones who are like fully libertarian, then I agree they're different. But, you know, if you're like, no, I want the government to do this and that, but just let me do whatever kind of business I want, then, you know, you're a different shade of like right-winger.
Sure, but I would think when it comes down to the details, I would imagine they are far more advanced in their regulation. Like, yeah, fair enough. No, to be fair though, I do think it's all abuse of because even neoliberals are not actually for reduction of regulations. They're in favor of reduction of regulations that bothers them. They are very much, for example, protectionism in US is very, you know, they're very protective. They used to be at least. So yeah, I guess I see what you mean. Yes, but I don't think he's. I would say he's a bit more libertarian than I think average.
Yeah, no, for sure.
He's more on the spectrum. But I would say most, from what I heard, I don't follow libertarian channels or books or anything. But I was surprised he was from, I only watched, by the way, hour and 30 minutes of it, but I think he defended intellectual property rights.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like
from what I recall, that was like most libertarians I thought opposed that. But just before we get into details though, my general take, I really much prefer the commentary to the actual debate, because they were referencing books and they were explaining things, and the debate itself, in my view, seemed to a huge extent, and I mean, you say you haven't seen as much as I haven't, it just seemed very 2010 and wasted. Like, okay, yeah, everybody knows libertarians suck.
Yeah,
they're just basically they're propped up by corporations as a sort of a, you know, to outflank everybody on the right.
100%.
So yeah, it's just again.
But I mean,
anyway, I mean, and the guy was not challenged enough on some of the most stupid things he said.
That's the thing. Whatever. They say so many insane things. I mean, if someone didn't tell you that this debate was about libertarianism, and you like skip the first 5 minutes, then it was just an argument about everything and anything, and like who knows more about like a specific fact and who's better at arguing. I mean, they talked about everything. They they covered
No,
this or
well,
that.
actually,
Or why do you not
no.
this example? No, that's not true. It's this way. Okay, fine. I mean, it was like
Oh
a
yeah,
debate about everything and
that was the
anything,
yeah.
like
If you don't
historical
have a,
facts. Like, no, that's
if you
not how
don't
this happened.
share a, yeah, if you don't share a historical or like, yeah, like if you don't, for example, yeah, if you fundamentally disagree on everything, like the creation of internet and how to define that, or like how, like, yeah, the best part. I mean, I think you love that part, but you remember that amazing question and the amazing answer the libertarian gives. I think that exemplifies everything we want to say.
Which one?
The one that he has had. So what tells you that this thing is yours?
Oh yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
Sam Cedar asked.
yeah, yeah,
And he goes, reality.
yeah,
And well, I mean,
yeah,
okay, like
yeah, yeah,
it's like you're dealing with a child at that
yeah,
point, or a fanatic, really.
yeah.
You know, that it's just they're fanatic. You know, like they have a view of reality, and they believe everybody either shares that view or definitely should share that view. And everybody who don't, it's like, it's obvious. Look, it's reality. It's
Yeah.
reality. But history shows us that there are many different interpretations on reality. Is inheritance is a, for example, a good one. Inheritance is that,
Yeah.
like, do you deserve your father's outputs? Like, this is what your father and your mother, sorry to be a bit sexist there, or your mother has worked for, or both your parents, maybe gay parents, whatever, they worked for. Yeah, inheritance is that is that whoever you are, is that yours, or like just because they gave it to you?
Yeah.
Or because, for example, in Islamic countries, even I think if they don't give it to you, like the boy legally is bound to get a certain amount of shares. So culturally, even it varies, because there are all these gray. It's just so idiotic. I mean, that's why I say it's a bit waste of time, because if somebody is doing this, they're either really, at that age, by the way, they're really either stupid or they're really willfully being. I think, I don't know, maybe. Yes, maybe I'm being very harsh, but
no, I don't think
I mean, the reality thing was really annoying.
Yeah.
Just that, and oh, sorry, and there's another thing I really found annoying, which was 90% of science is like
explain that one. Explain that one. What he
broad.
said. No, explain. So what did he say?
He said government does a lot of research. Sam Cedar and people said that government funds research and development, and he said government does fund a lot of research and development, and 90% of it goes to nothing, goes to waste, goes nowhere, which is the most, I think, childish way of looking at science. I don't know how he got to the 90%, where he got that, and how do you define usefulness? All those studies that are used in literature reviews, which lead to a study that does actually lead to, let's say, a product. We are talking about engineering, and we're not talking about humanities and history and that type of thing. So all those studies that were done, they were all useless. They were all pointless, or, studies that, for example, let us know, it's a very, and exactly, how do you define usefulness of a study? How did you get to the 90%? It's the whole thing is very, I think.
No, I mean, and this guy was a finance professor, so I mean, you would think that at least he would have heard of the. Yeah, exactly. I'm not surprised, but about the basics of science, it kind of reminds. But the interest,
because finance is has become, sadly, in a lot of, I think, has become sort of a very empiricist and positivist, in my view, took over economy, and increasingly has specialized it, and has, in my view, not that there is a lot of justification for finance to exist, but then you also need other things that put it in a context, because finance has now become solely focused on science of transactions and algorithms, I think, to a huge extent. But I'm sure there are people doing great work in finance, by the way, microfinancing, all that shit. So don't want to put a huge generalization. But I'm not surprised you see a lot of people that come from engineering, finance, even, and medicine, that in my view, their positivist and empiricist outlook sadly does not allow them to fully grasp certain ideas. Like I don't think he understands epistemology or ontology. Like people can have different views, and I don't think he really gets that.
According to Ayn Rand and objectivism, there was just one objective reality. So yeah, he fully rejects that.
I read Ayn Rand when I was very young, teenager.
Yeah, no, I was brushing up on it yesterday a little bit on Wikipedia.
Yeah, so I don't remember what she said about reality. All I remember from her work is that you must, act in your own best interest, and that way, if everybody acts in that way, then everybody would be better off, and the people who are able would rise up. But I don't remember her.
No, I was reading. Like that's
if
the main.
She had one, by the way. She was writing. She's very much her persona as a philosopher. I think is much of a media creation, and her followers 100%. Creation, like Alan Greenspan, former head of bank and stuff, because she was writing very, in my view, not very good novels. And her philosophy is very, in my view, it's almost like a teenager, very angry. I'm gonna do what's best for me.
And I was reading about it on Wikipedia.
It's not fair that I'm the best and nobody recognizes me. I'm gonna build a train, and it's gonna be the best, fastest train and a tower. It's like, it's not philosophy, it's not Epicurus, It's like,
no, but no, being there's an objective reality. That's a big part of it. I was reading on Wikipedia, and like the first paragraph that they explain, it's about like world is like objective and all that. But yeah, and the other funny part is apparently her theory and stuff, you're not supposed to change it or build on it. So it is what it is. So apparently, like whoever she designated as like whoever's her prodigy or something, he like tightened up a bit her theory, but you're not supposed to touch it.
There's a whole, by the way, there's a whole sort of yellow drama there as well, because the guy who continued her work or something, they had a many years long affair, and then she said, you must sleep with me, and then he said, I don't want to, and she said, no, you don't understand what's best for you. So she went completely against her own philosophy. And it's famously said, again, I'm not sure this is true or not, I never fact checked this, that she received government support towards the end of her life. Something that she was very much
like welfare, like that kind of government support. You mean?
Yeah. And she was an old lady. She should have gotten any support she needed. But but I'm not sure if this is true, or old wives. One of those, like everybody on their death, all atheists on their deathbed sort of convert to a religion. So I'm a bit suspicious of this story. It sounds too good to be true. But but she's there's a whole. I don't find her work even to be that good.
Oh yeah, she's not taken seriously, and it's also not, it barely has any like connection to academia, even to like economics or anything like that. I don't even think they
connection to centers of power.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that's better. But you mentioned that Ben Burgis mentioned a really interesting book. So it's called The Entrepreneurial State. And it's about public versus private myths. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting that book. That sounds really interesting. And then the last part that I have is they talk about...
It's a book that, by the way, the Libertarian guys also mentions. And he says,
really?
That's the book you can read.
True.
That's the book about internet and the foundation of internet, which the other person with Ben Burgis, he says he misrepresents, because he says that in that book you can see that internet was developed privately and all that, but then the guy says yes, he to an extent it was privately, but then when they wanted to expand it, they couldn't find one private company to invest in it. So it must be a good book that both sides kind of refer to it.
Yeah, he kind of dismissed the book also as not being well researched, I think, but I'm not.
Okay.
I think so, but I'm not too sure about that. It's like a 3-hour podcast. But the last thing that I had, and I found this to be so insightful, like he inadvertently showed that libertarian is all about, at least for him, all about being pro-business. Because they talk about labor law, right? And Sam Seder asked them, like, so where about labor law isn't there freedom? And he gives like 4 examples, and they're all from the employer side. So it's like minimum wage, lack of freedom, having to give what's it called, insurance, lack of freedom. He didn't give one example on the other side, I mean, I guess being that, the freedom of being able to sustain yourself through one job. I don't know. I'm sure there's something that is restricting labor too, right? Like every single example that he gave was from the employer's point of view and how his freedom is being, trumped. I'm sure you could find some on the employee's point of from the employee's side as well. Do you get what I mean?
He doesn't. No, but he doesn't see. That's what I mean about like different very basic fundamental differences. He doesn't see the world in that way, though. He sees it in terms of individuals. So he sees he doesn't talk, in his view, he's not talking about a business or a business owner. He's talking about one individual, So in that way, that would be, I would imagine, he's sort of, that's probably explain why he's, that's like, he doesn't like, that's, and he's probably, he's probably one of those people who only considers freedom from rather than
exactly.
freedom
That's
to.
what
And this is a big difference. And again, as I said, this comes back to really like fundamental like discussions. And if you don't agree on those, I really don't see the point of debate. I like a good debate. That's actually why I like Bad Faith podcast a lot, because I think when they bring two people, there is a common sort of, at least there's a basic tenets of certain things or access. If somebody suddenly comes in and says, okay, I just simply don't believe history from like the 18th century onwards, like World War IIs were fake, World War I. I'm not saying anybody in this debate was that extreme, but I'm just saying if there is that much difference when you don't recognize freedom to eat as part of like individual liberties or something, then then you're not going to give that kind of example.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, let's move to
it felt a bit, to be honest. No, let me just give this negative thing about the actual debate. I'm not talking about the commentary by Burgis with Libertarian. At this point, to me, it seems like just attention-seeking stuff, which, look at, it's kind of like freak shows of all times. Look at this Libertarian with these weird ideas. Everybody knows they have weird ideas, and it's been debunked so many times. And Sam Cedar, I watched only 1 hour and a half. Is a lot of his stuff they just let go unchallenged, and Jamie Peck sometimes, I think, or whoever is the producer, sort of chimes in. But yeah, it feels like freak show type thing, and only helps to I don't know what helps to what, like, really.
I mean, I would say to use one of your phrases, to be fair. Okay, I think if this was, if somebody who's starting to become political, I personally had that experience at first. When you see like different things and you don't quite grasp what is what. So I can see how like this kind of argument, this kind of podcast and video, it was really easy to listen to also, because I think exactly it would be good someone in the beginning of their political life, especially if they're suddenly becoming political, like let's say late teens or 20s, and they hear this and that. I think there's some value there. But yeah, if not, we're just making fun
again,
of
the commentary really was great.
Yeah.
The debate. You're right. I just felt like, it just felt very, and they are not even like, libertarians are not, in my view, I made a joke about the rant people being close to centers of power, but in reality they're not. Libertarians are, they're just used by some powerful people as an excuse to push forward certain agendas, because
pro-business
when it comes
agendas,
to, for example, abortion rights, you don't hear.
That is such a good point, actually, right? Like, that's the thing. It's just a pro-business tool. I mean, everything that he's talking about are pro-business stuff. So
I think there are a couple of books by the man and stuff. I'm sure there is some people who believe. I think if you get really down to gritty detail of it, it's not that different from anarchism, really. Just people are, it's in their self-benefit to be good and positive and not to have conflict and blah, 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 blah. Okay, but it doesn't, in reality, it's not even relevant to reality, that belief. Like
I mean, yeah. I mean, especially
I don't think so.
libertarianism.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's that for that. Okay, now maybe something that you're more interested in talking about, critical race theory. So there have been a couple of interesting debates, a few guests. Adolf Reed went on Useful Idiots, your favorite podcast. What else?
And my favorite professor, I think, right now
your favorite
is
professor.
Adolf Reed now. It
Okay.
was so good. It was so good. First of all, sadly, I don't have the money or access. And I'm saying this every episode because hoping one of the viewers just, makes me account and send me the detail. But yeah, anyway, to watch the full episode. But I watched I like the Useful Idiots thing, but the interviews are becoming shorter and shorter. And it's getting really annoying. Anyway, but yeah, so he didn't really get into it. But he's they have today or yesterday they released a couple of experts as well, and he makes this great point, and which is like, first of all, he's opposing that version of political race theory espoused by people like Robin DiAngelo, which is more about individuals and feeling blame. And for example, Robin DiAngelo actually in one of her, I think, lecture, Katie Alper mentions this, that she says, like, for example, you should view white people as one monolith, but the one ethnic minority or black people, or whichever ethnic minority, them as individual. So it's sort of like this weird moral rebalancing she's trying to carry out that I don't think it's just counterproductive and idiotic. And then it's really funny that Adolf Reed points out that if you follow their own idiotic arguments, because Adolf Reed 10 months ago got disinvited from DSA because of racially insensitive, because a Marxist black person is comments are considered not racially sensitive enough or racially too insensitive either. So he said, if you follow these idiots' own conclusion, then these people shouldn't be allowed to tell me anything about this, because I'm from African American ethnicity. So, they're white, so they should shut the fuck up about race and ethnicity. And he says the best way to put them down from his position is a good heartily shut the fuck up or fuck off. Sorry.
Yeah.
But so he's very critical of these type of things. And I think, again, we discussed this last week. Critical race theory is a wide, broad church that came out of critical thinking. And I think every academic you go to universities all across the world in social sciences, humanities would agree that race or ethnicity or whatever are in any country, in every country, are important factors in the development of the historical development and all that. But some people focus more on the systematic things. Some people focus more on the individual.
But isn't it about systematic stuff though? Mainly, like, isn't this Robin DiAngelo kind of inversing it by giving less?
Look, I don't believe anybody
weight.
I don't believe anybody has the monopoly or has the authority, to say this is critical race theory and this is not critical race theory. People have their, like Islam, like
but I mean, you can say that, you can say like the first few thoughts about it that came, or the first few big books of it came from here. Yeah, then you explain why you're going a different way. But I mean, you can't say that, it doesn't seem to fall under the exact umbrella. It kind of seems to be like the opposite of it. So then you can explain why.
It's not. It's like saying anarchism is the opposite of communism. Of course it is, but they are also both sort of from the left wing, from the broad left church. Anarchism is opposite of a state's-owned thing. So yeah, I agree with you. There are opposites in that way and stuff. But I don't think anybody. It's like the problem I had with, Thomas Frank has this thing about populism that says that the word has been stolen. Sure, yeah, but that you can say that about every word. Like, that's the history of words. Different people use them in different ways. They interpret them in different ways. So yeah, and when after a while, when it is used in there are certain bad words that are, for example, in my view, they don't mean the original meaning. they meant. And now they just mean that now they're just equivalent of, for example, a-hole, just you're a-hole type. But some, so words are very context dependent. So I don't think she can't say you're like Adolf Reed or whoever is not like critical race theorist. Nobody can say she's not.
Yeah.
Because she has gone to university, she's written a PhD on that matter, she's earning money professionally.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, it's fun. Yeah, no, you're right. It's just like, kind of like the opposite of the first
I
idea
agree
that
with you.
get for them.
It's even from a personal perspective, it's a digression from critical race theory that damages critical race theory, and it's just awful. But sadly, yeah.
And so anything else on critical race? There was Gerald Horne. He went on the Analysis News. They just talk about different stuff. I don't have something like specific in my mind about.
I thought he was great.
Yeah.
He was great, but I would say he was a bit more towards your position in that critical race theory has a slightly more specific academic definition and all that. And he says it was interesting, actually. I kind of don't agree with him there. He said it was designed in a way to be constitutionalist, or to not be sort of anti-establishment, or so, like it was designed in a, I forget that shit. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
That was a very complicated point, so I should probably, I don't want to say anything stupid about it.
Yeah, no, I can't believe Gerald Horne is a historian. I think he mentioned before that he was a lawyer. I was like, Jesus, man. Some people.
Oh, by the way, let me mention this. Adolf Reed is the coolest man alive.
I prefer Gerald Horne, to be honest, but
yeah. Oh no. But
I love
because Adolf Reed is no, but he's more. I would say, Adolf Reed is a fan of Blade trilogy, and that was fun to know Blade movies. And he even he said when you want to deal with it's so good. He even mentions a scene from Blade, one of his favorite scenes, and he says that, there's this familiar. You know what are familiars?
No, I've seen kind of Blade once, yeah.
No, in vampire mythology, familiar is a human being. Okay, a human being that works for a vampire in hope of becoming a vampire or in hope of not beginning.
Okay.
Like a sort of a undercover agent. But there's a cop that Blade kills, and he says, I'm fucking this up so bad. He says, motherfucker, what did you think? Did you think they're gonna let you leave after they win, motherfucker? Something like that. And he says that, that's how you should respond to these Robin DiAngelo type things, and white, these people who are just solely focused on white identity and identity and all that. But I was so happy to find out he's so cool. He likes Blade, so that was nice.
Yeah, that's nice. So you recommend you
and I don't have Blade here. I do have Black Panther and Batman, but I don't have Blade. But Blade is, and the movie Blade, not the comic Blade, is really really bad. The original comic book Blade is not that good, but the movie Blade. And then later on the comics.
I see. And and before we wrap this up a little bit, and then we have one or two more little fun stories maybe. But before that, there was also, we talked about this last week, but anything else to bring up about the bad fate debate about critical race theory? Anything that stands out there to you?
I rewatched it very early on after our recording last time. Nothing that
me neither. Nothing stands out. Although I really enjoyed listening to it again yesterday or something. Now that, because like I said, critical race theory is the most, in a way, it's the most, from a leftist point of view, it's the most straightforward thing ever. But I didn't know there was this,
I think, not whole left thing perspective. Critical. A lot of right wingers are also from any analyst would say, okay, this is one factor, I should take it in the account. It's not that weird,
Yeah, exactly. It's just, so I was kind of taken aback by the whole thing. And then I guess when I heard about what Republicans are making a big deal about in school, that's just blah blah. I mean, I didn't go to an American school, but I don't know how much
That's
to
just
dive
yeah.
into
That's just.
critical race theory. Like you
I'm
said,
sure
what they
they're
mentioned like slavery, and
they're
they're like, oh no.
reenacting the ship. This time, white people have to go to the ships. They're gonna go back to. Yeah, I'm
So
sure.
I mean, that's just
I'm
typical right-wing
You're gonna
bullshit.
mention slavery once, and then because
Yeah.
of that, Republicans have all their panties.
Exactly. But okay, Sam, here I see in my notes that you said you'd seen one or two
Wait,
funny.
shall
Yeah. What?
Cornel West thing? Shall I
True,
mention that because it
Yeah,
kind of relates?
definitely.
Sadly, Cornel West, following the fact that it seems he wasn't. It's not very obvious, but like it's not exactly that he was denied tenure. They didn't find a place for him in Harvard, and he said he has resigned, and he said he accused Harvard Divinity School of a spiritual rot. It's important to note he previously left Harvard about, I think, 10 years ago, then came back. He had problems with the then
Okay, I didn't
dean,
know.
I think Mr. Summers or something. And then he came back about 4 years ago. And the thing is, he's a very much, what do you say? He's a very big orator, and he talks in a bombastic and very rich vocabulary fashion. So I didn't understand. I haven't exactly understood the timing, but it seems he's been increasingly under pressure, and he hasn't been able to carry out the work he wants and all that. So, and this is at the end. He says, I'm doing a direct quote now. I hope and pray that I could still end my career with some semblance of intellectual intensity and personal respect. He wrote, how wrong I was. With a few glorious and glaring exceptions, the shadow of Jim Crow was cast in its new glittering form, expressed in language of superficial diversity. So this is sort of, because there were all these talks that his views are not tolerated, even like, and all that. And he's basically to the left of most people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a sad, I hope, I mean, it's not sad in a way that I've never been a big fan of Harvard, to be honest, especially divinity schools. But yeah, I hope he gets a better job at a much better university. I mean, I know he's of a certain age, so or retire happily or whatever.
Well, I mean,
but
you need that tenure to retire properly. Actually, I guess you could still retire financially, but
no, hopefully, I don't know. Yeah, maybe his book sales, I hope, gets a boost because of this and all that. But but it's sad that somebody like him can't work at the top level institution. Apparently his views, he gets even pressurized, and he's not somebody, even though that he's to the left, he's like the kindest man alive in terms of like, he's in a stylistic sense, he's the opposite of Jimmy Dore in terms of he tries to kill you with love type guy. Like his worst enemies he calls my brother and all that. So it's just or brother blah, so it's very shame. It's a very sad day. Well, it's not, it's just a shame. It's not a very sad day. It's not like there was a bombing or but it's sad that somebody like him has to go through this.
No, 100%. So he's like the opposite of you.
I mean,
he's a good person. He's the opposite of you. He's a good person. That's what you were trying. That's what you're trying to get.
Exactly. He's really like not. I feel like he's exactly like even the nice policies I want to support, like Medicare for all for the globe or whatever. I want to do it out of this fear that like if people like other people and stuff, they might like the inequality is going to lead to violence and revolt. I'm not that big on like humanitarian work and all that, but this guy is like the nicest man. I don't understand how he can get into a conflict with the kindest, like most. Anyway, it's weird.
Maybe understandable.
I don't know. I've only seen interviews and read his work. Maybe behind the scene, maybe he's this evil lefty trying to stare up.
I mean, he's a lefty. I think you pointed out what one of the main issues are. One of the main. Although Norman Finkelstein points out that there's issue to issue. He's like, I got kicked out of a university where there are people more to my left, but of course it was with
No,
Israel,
but
Palestine.
Norman Finkelstein's style of engagement and polemic is very much, that's what I mean. Like he's very much, I can seek to get into conflict everywhere, even places where because he's just so
Can you imagine an email from
and he's
Norman
right,
Finkelstein? If that's how he comes up when he's speaking, I can just imagine like him emailing someone or like in track changes, like correcting someone with comments. It would be like the most vicious, coldest thing ever.
No, and the worst part is he's right about everything. So I imagine him being your colleague and you get into that would be, he would
Okay, listen, more for you to set up, so spend as much time as you want on this, as little, because I know you don't want it too much, but you told me and I had a little bit of fun about it with it. So what are like the two dramas surrounding Vaush? He did like one or two funny things. He rage quit and then
to be fair, I wasn't sure we should cover this or not, because this feels like a bit maybe pointless to cover, but I thought maybe the two together. First of all, point out Jackson Hinkle guy, the deep dive with Jackson Hinkle. He did a good debate, I think, with not a good debate, sorry. He did a debate with Vaush on OPCW. By the way, I have dyslexia and all that, and it's hard, okay? Don't, Anyway. So about the Syrian issue, and it was not not at all a productive debate in my view, because mainly because Vaush started debates with accusations and threats. Like I'm swear to God, he started it like this. I doubt this is going to be a very useful debate. I assume it's going to be a waste of time, because I have a lot of experience debating Holocaust deniers. And then Jackson Hinkle's Holocaust. What the fuck happened there? Just like suddenly he takes it to and he keeps saying, I don't know if you have mental issues, or if you're mentally behind or slow or whatever, or you're being willfully disingenuous. Kind of, by the way, what I said about the libertarian guy. So maybe I'm being anyway, I'm being a bit of a hypocrite there.
No,
but he says it so many times, and he says it to a guy you agreed to debate with. So I don't okay, if you agree to debate with the guy, then you agree to debate with with a mentally challenged person, and then the guy, like, I think it just gets into he's so insulting, and he's so shouty, and he so tries to focus on these weird points, and he doesn't allow. And the other guy, at some point, the Jackson thing, gets angry as well, and it just becomes a sort of snipey comments at each other, like, oh, you believe that, oh, you believe that. And so it devolves into nothingness. And then Vaush quits I think largely because he sees it's in his benefit to quit at that point. He doesn't even allow the debate to reach to any constructive point for him to lose. But everybody can tell that he's just, I think, upskating, and just, it's weird. As you said, it's like he's using a lot of debate bro tactics. A lot of people call them. I've never seen a debate bro tactic in real life. I don't know what they are, but it does feel like he's using tactics. He keeps like repeating, shouting questions.
No, exactly.
And then he did a take on Afghanistan. Sorry, go ahead.
No, nothing. I was just going to mention it before that. I mean, just like I said, like Destiny and Vaush and stuff, they use like the tactics they teach you in like debate class, or debate, like, these debate competitions that they have, debate society, which is fine. You pick up on those skills, but when you're an adult, you hope that you're debating for like a reason or a cause, and not to just to get the other person. And it seems like that's all they do. And it seems like in debates, whenever people appear to come out winners, they just come and talk about everything and anything else, and just try to get you score a point on something that has maybe even nothing to do with the debate. But go on. What was the Afghanistan one?
Well, in Afghanistan, I think he opposed this whole no exit plan strategy, and I don't know. I think he's trying to grab attention. I seriously, genuinely think that about it. But then a lot of people, including Nathan J. Robinson and Jackson Hinkle. A lot of people criticize him for that and saying that, and he responds in a way with a video that says, "Oh, no, I'm being proven right. Taliban by the way, Taliban is taking over Afghanistan. Refugees already fleeing to Tajikistan, to Central Asia." And it's like, again, it's like he's either he's pretending, like, because nobody, of course, everybody would like a fantastic exit strategy, which leaves Afghanistan a first world country. But that does not seem to be the point and the aim of American military presence. And 20 years, they've been saying that's what's going to happen. For 20 years, they've said that we're going to improve this place. They haven't. And the idea that now in the next 4 years, they're going to change the same people. It's, Joe Biden was one of the senators for Iraq war and Afghanistan war and all that. So these are not a different set of group of people, different set of ideals or anything. So I don't know based on what he says that, but then he was saying, yeah, people are criticizing me as just the universe is proving me right. But at any rate, I do think, we shouldn't really, it's probably a waste of our time talking.
No, for sure. But what a twisted take.
It's just, I want to point out that this is, it's not a twisted take, to be honest. It's just a childish take, though. If they had a plan, if they had a good exit plan that Taliban wouldn't take over, it would be better.
Yeah.
Really?
No shit.
Sherlock.
But
really?
Just the fact that we made a whole video about this. Of course
it would be better, but they don't. It's like, we've been waiting 30 years for that. They haven't come up with that.
If you could do that.
I think, but I don't think his aim was, I don't think that was a take. I think his aim was to cause some people to dunk on him Twitter and then some other people to defend.
Yeah, probably.
The outrage thing.
And
the only reason I did mention it is because I do think, I hope this would work against his favor. Otherwise, I'm kind of feeding the monster as well in a way. So
bad press is good, but only to a certain extent. At a certain extent, every now and then it's
all presses.
Yeah, maybe if you're getting beat up. But yeah, the Afghanistan stuff, it's just a funny interpretation. To me, like, I would interpret it completely the other way. Just shows how bad this occupation has gone, that literally within like 2 days of leaving, like, they can just like take over like everything just like that. It just kind of shows how bad of a job you were doing while you were there, and let alone exit strategy. But I just want to ask you one question. Let me see if you can use your wiseness and years of academia and experience to explain. I just saw this today. No,
I don't have any of that.
Anyway,
please, people. Yeah.
Vaush explain this to me. Vaush on his Twitter account, it says that he's a libertarian socialist. Can you explain to me how you put these two things together, how you can be a libertarian and a socialist at the same time?
Sure. I haven't delved into his writings or his thoughts or anything. Well, I don't have any of the credentials that Kam here said. All I do have is from age like 5, I've been obsessed with politics. That's, pretty much. That's about all my credentials. And some education. I would assume, I don't know, but libertarian socialist is somebody who believes that it's kind of similar, I would imagine, to anarchism. And I've seen people say that he described himself as a sort of anarchist, that so people should be left alone, but when they've all reached this point that they would all act like the ideal of Marx, that, you do as much as you can, you get as much as you need, you contribute as much as you are able to, you are helped as much as you need, type thing. So I would imagine, in his word, institutions and organizations exist where people can come together and help other people, and everything is balanced that way, but it's all done voluntarily and not through first, or at the most through a very locally focused sort of institution. I would imagine that's what libertarian socialism would be.
That's not really socialism.
It is a bit contradictory in a way. You would, because libertarian, it's like complete freedom of individual from others,
Yeah,
and then socialism, which is we must depend on each other to survive.
for
But
some
I would
things
say
at least.
they're trying to sort of mix
Yeah.
best of both worlds.
I mean,
I
it
don't
makes
think it would
complete
work,
sense that him out of all people would have that in his Twitter bio. I mean, I shouldn't expect
To be
anything
fair,
different.
after his Afghanistan comment, I would have thought he's a bit more just centrist, to be honest. But yeah, socialist libertarian
Yeah.
interest.
But okay, Sam, you're doing a
To be
nice.
fair though, just people try to ignore labels. Each individual, each writer is different.
I mean, if someone calls me a leftist, I think that would do a decent job of explaining like 80 to 75% of my views. I mean, it gets you started, right?
Oh, leftist, like broad ones in a just giving audience context or giving people. Yeah, of course, you have textbooks. You have to summarize things. You have to put people in a broad spectrum or something. But try not to like focus on like because it's just all of them are such broad churches, you know. Like people, it's really funny. Somebody got criticized, like somebody was criticizing feminism for the fact that each feminist writer is really different. And then you can say that about like any ideology, like, you know, liberals, every liberal book's slightly different.
Yeah.
You know?
Although, I mean, with the feminist thing, sure, maybe here they were blaming like actual different feminism, but the feminism thing is just used to like dismissing anything that some woman says, even if that woman has never even herself like thought of feminism or said feminism, you know. It's just like a random person is like doing a lot of shopping or something, and then like you see, and then feminists say blah 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 blah. You mean they just like sometimes I feel like the feminist thing, they just attack random women who in their life have never thought of feminism. Yeah, no, I know.
I'm sure. In the streets, you're driving and like I don't know, there is something in the street and feminists, look what they did to our country.
Or like, you know, look how big of a hypocrite feminists are. I'm like, it's just a woman. I mean, I don't know if you
there's like there is one rich lady or something somewhere. Yeah, look, it's equality everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so funny. They just jump on anything. But Sam, like I was gonna say, you're doing a good job of carrying the second part of the show. And I would like you to continue because you also had a few Joe Rogan things that you wanted to mention before we wrap up this episode.
Not really a small short things of progress. I mean, I hope we covered some substance of progressive work about like Adolf Fried and Cornel West. But going back to a bit more, actually one of it can be somewhat substantive, I hope. One was Joe Rogan did two interesting videos I watched on YouTube. One was about which went a tiny bit viral, which was about the Olympics. And then he did one about the Richard Branson, which went to space a couple of days ago, and people trying to go to space and stuff. And I really liked the fact that like he gave that normal person reaction, which was my reaction, that are you people crazy? Like, why are you doing this? Like, I'm gonna wait for it till it's like 100 times they went, it's commercially safe and all that, and then maybe I do it. You know, this, I don't understand this fascination with like going to literally nowhere. And he talks about this because if people, it's quite interesting, but like outer space is completely filled with the space junk apparently from the satellites and rubbish and all that. So it's like full of rubbish as well. And so I really liked his everyman sort of response. And then it's really interesting because then he talks about Elon Musk, and I think he's with all due respect, but he's making a mistake there. In a sense that he says that no, you know, the other guy who's a writer for, I believe he was a writer for New York Times, he's a very interesting guy. But he says that, well, you know, Elon Musk also had a couple of like his rockets blown up and all that. He said no, he has it under control and it's part of his plan. All the explosions and the mishaps is part of his plan. And sure, you have trials for exactly that type of thing, for accidents not to happen, but nobody's happy about the fact, $200 million rocket failed the test. Part of my plan. How amazing I feel. Like, this is not like, I don't think that was like, I think Elon Musk, as the guy says, by the way, obviously he says, no, it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan, but I doubt it's really that. But anyways, though, that was, but then he makes a great point on Olympics,
Yeah.
which my pet hate, since I think I remember when about a decade ago or two, like decade ago or a decade and a bit ago, when we were in a different country or something, we had this debate. So it's been a pet hate of mine since before my probably a complete political awareness and all that. But I hate all kinds of major sport events, major sports competitions, specifically Olympics. That's like the one I hate the most.
But is it because which I'm sympathetic to that take, and I don't hate it as much as you at all. But is your hate mainly from the fact that it's such a waste of resources? And then the perfect example that's given is like Brazil. They held the Olympics recently, and then they held the World Cup recently, and apparently things that were built for the Olympics or like the World Cup have completely gone to waste. And, you can spend your money in so many better ways. I have some sympathy for this, but like anything, you can spend your money differently and you can do better and stuff. So yeah, is that your main thing that you hate? Or
two, I have two problems. One is that, and I don't think that's just about the money. It's about the fact that when you focus everything on one project, it's kind of like a Dutch disease. Dutch disease is a problem when an economy becomes too dependent on one single industry.
Typically oil. It's typically used for
typically oil. Yeah.
Dependent on oil.
But this is, so I'm not saying this is exactly like Dutch disease. I'm not trying to justify my position in a dishonest way. I'm trying to say when 4 years of economic planning or my apologies.
No worries, Sam's headphones died.
Apologies about the technical difficulty, guys. My headphones batteries are low. Sorry, my main, it's just, I think that sort of economic projects attracts corruption. And I think even as sports-wise, I have many, three actually. That's the economically, I think they cause issues. I can go into details. Two, I think they are, as Romans called it, you need bread and circus to keep the people busy. I think they're the circuses of modern times, especially the football in Europe and American football in the US. So they are the circus. They don't have any substance. Their content with the least. They're the easiest substance. Red, blue. Oh, I support red. So I think that's the type of thing that's what they're there for. Thirdly, I think they especially, by the way, this is more prominent in third world countries, this focus on winning medals, or by the way, it's not about sports, just sports. It happens with math, physics, they focus these students on. We have so many math students that win these competitions abroad. And I much rather have gyms built on every streets rather than having these biggest stadium in the world. Oh, good for you. What is this, a dick measuring contest? We're trying to run a nation, So I'd rather have gyms, small, tiny gyms for old people or put a couple of people that bring out old people and make them walk, or fight obesity in children, or you do anything. But they sort of has this. And by the way, Olympics and bringing back of Olympics has some roots in racism in America and in Western Europe, and this idealization of the perfect man and perfect body and all that. I think they distance themselves from that later on, and I'm not. But I mean, it does have its roots in that. It's just, I agree that focus on your local street team instead of supporting a national team, people you don't see, or a club from people from around the world you don't know, and you love them or you become racist towards them as soon as they lose a match or something.
Yeah, the circus thing, and some bad elements of racism and stuff. You can say that there are so many. What about TV shows? What about all this shit on TV that you're seeing? There's so many things that are part of the circus. So I understand that it's treated that way to make people forget about things. I understand, but it's not fully only that. Go ahead.
I agree, it's not fully only that, but I would say in terms of, okay, you can make a movie about Billy Idol or Billy, no, that he was there. No, there was another movie about the football. Anyways, that can be very inspiring, or the story of a single footballer from very poor background and all that can be very inspiring. But it's not like when you talk about TV shows, you're talking about what, Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Game of Thrones or The Trip by Michael Winterbottom. They are very different things. With the sports, football matches are not different things, man. They are the same thing is being different version of the same thing.
Movies are also largely largely the same. Most movies have extremely similar plot lines. Most crappy movies or medium movies, they're extremely similar. All right. And you just watch it.
Not most movies, most Hollywood movies or most Bollywood movies or most Italian even or Iranian movies or whatever. But even then they have different, fair enough. But there's what is the difference between all the, you can say there's a difference between football and basketball. Yeah. What's the difference between Manchester in terms of substance? It's fun. I'm not saying it's not fun. And for the people it's fun, it's great and all that. I watch some shitty TV shows as fun. But I do think it plays such a big role in such a large amount of people's life that it does play the role of circus. Yeah. Like people lose their shit over football far more than like children are hungry or wars or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, really.
And I mean, people do crazy stuff to also see like artists who are like nothing and they lose their minds.
No.
To see them and all that. Yeah. So I really agree with what you're saying. I just kind of meet you like 50%. 50% there. And I mean, once you're into the sport, listen, you're like, is there one sport you like? Okay, fine.
But put that all aside.
Yeah.
In a situation when we have a pandemic, when economically we are in the toilet, all of that, do we need extra, these type of like festivities? Like I mean, honestly, I think like if you wanted to like solve like a lot of issues, it doesn't come down to money. In most places, it's not about money. There is the money. It's the political will really to do it in most cases, right? I mean, in the US, it's so easy to make this argument because there's so much money. But sure, a poor country, maybe you also need money. So, I mean, if you want to do things better, like, you can easily have the Olympic as it is. You can do things better. It can be less of a circus. You can plan around it better. And some good things could come out of it. What I mean? Yeah, like country of Japan is a very, it's got a good economy. It's got money. It's not like fair enough. I know what you mean. But I stand by my criticisms, but I do realize in terms of, you are right. In terms of priority and emergenciness of the thing, it's probably not. You can still, if you tax the rich, it would immediately give you some money to, let's say, put some schools, some gyms, and still have Olympics. Yeah, or not even tax the rich. I'm sure money is just, I mean, the military and the army is the easiest place to point your finger to, to take the money. Japan might not be a good example. I don't know. I know they do actually spend a lot on defense in terms of. No, I meant the US. I was talking about the US. US is easiest example. The only country that I know anything about, to be completely honest, so I just have to fall back on them. But okay, I don't know much more about the US. I mean, we're all like submerged in American culture most of the time. I mean, I'm just exposed to that. But anyway, let's put that aside. Okay, this was a fun one, Sam. Any final words? Check out Adolf Reed's interview. If you manage to check it out in full, send me a sort of a weird, like smuggled link. That can links be smuggled? Or are we one day gonna have to get Substack too if we get big enough? I mean, right now I count there's like 4 people I need to subscribe to if I want to like watch their full shows. Like honestly, I'm gonna have to subscribe to everything. I get why it's done. Comes up with a plan that that's you pay them something and it gives you 5 to 10 people or something, because this is ridiculous at this point. Like this is ridiculous. We're gonna be like I mean, if you just want to listen to all of Useful Idiots, all of Breaking Point, all of Bad Faith, and Crystal and Kyle, that's already 4 things. Crystal Kyle. Yeah. And it comes down to what, like $35 or they're like between $5 and $10, which is both nothing, and I completely understand. But then
when you start putting all together, you're like, what should I do here? But yeah,
Yeah.
on that note, as Sam is yawning, let's call this a day.
Oh, sorry. I've been called out for that, but yeah.
It's fine. We'll work on it. It's still early days for us. But okay, people, thank you very much for watching. Please leave your comments, questions, criticisms of Sam and everything down in the comment section below, and we'll make sure to get to them. But if not, please
So no
like.
criticisms of Kam here.
If there are any, please. If not, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video. Thank you.